Lost Trail, 9 Days Alone in the Wilderness by Donn Fendler, and there he is. Donn, could you read us the first page of Lost Trail?
Okay. It's hard to believe that more than 70 years have passed since I gave death a long, hard stare. There's no way I should have survived that 1939 run-in with Mount Katahdin, those 9 days alone in the Maine wilderness. But I did, and I lived my own personal miracle when I was only 12 years old. Now, whenever I look in the mirror, it's pretty obvious that decades have passed, but at the time my ordeal seemed so real, just like yesterday. I scratch at the thought of the bug's relentless, bloody gnawing. The memory of the bear's steely stare makes me flinch, and the ache, the awful ache of the fear and the loneliness are still hauntingly real. You know, I should never have climbed Katahdin in the first place, because we had other plans.
You did have other plans, but you ended up going to Katahdin, and people can read the book to find out how you got up there. But can you give us the quick version of you were up there and what happened?
Well, try to make it as short as possible. We were up in the plateau, Henry Condon and I, and got caught up in a storm, and I got scared, and I left Henry, and subsequently I lost the trail, and kind of lost my cool, and did a bit of running around, and finally went down over the side of the mountain, thinking I could find another trail or camp. Finally got to the bottom, and then the next morning I got up and got pretty upset because nobody was there. And for the next 8 days I wandered around in the woods. I came across some cabins. I saw a lot of deer. I ran into a couple of bears that were quite frightening. And finally I came to the east branch of the Penobscot River and saw Mr. McMorrin's cabin across the river. And he came across eventually and rescued me. And then Mrs. McMorrin took care of me. And then I met my mother the next day going down the river. We met halfway down in canoe. She canoed up from the town of Grindstone. And was put in an ambulance and wound up the hospital with my dad.
Thanks, Donn. This was a story that happened in 1939, and it's been more than 70 years, but people are still fascinated with your story. And I've heard you say before that there's times when you couldn't keep going. How did you keep going?
I think it was something that we all have within inside of us, and it's called the will to live. You have to never give up attitude. I never thought I was going to die. It just kept going, and I just wouldn't give up.
Thinking of a 12-year-old kid alone in the wilderness for 9 days is amazing. Since then, you've traveled around and you've visited hundreds of schools and talked to thousands of kids sharing your story. Why do you share your story?
Well, it's not hard to understand that. One, I owed Maine a lot for what they did for my mom and dad while I was lost. But I think the main thing was my dad wanted the book, and the book subsequently came in, and that led up to going to schools. But what my dad wanted to point out to young people, whether it's with a book or me talking, is to show them what faith and determination can do.
And so I think that you've shown that through what happened to you and also through the years that you shared with everybody. Anything that we don't know about the story, Donn, that you would like to tell us today? Anything that...
No, pretty much the same.
You told me once about something that wasn't in the original book, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, but Henry Condon told it to you because they were searching for you. It was day 9, and they thought they were going to be finding your body because 9 days in the wilderness, a 12-year-old kid, the odds were you had not survived. You ended up coming out of the woods, but before that, they believed that they were going to be taking your body out, and Henry told you something about that.
Yeah, well, they discovered a rather awful smell, and they thought maybe that was made down in a crevice. And to make a story short, they lowered Henry down by his ankles, grabbed his ankle and lowered him down. I don't know how he felt about that, but couldn't see anything other than that, so brought him back up, and the next day they brought up some other equipment and lowered, I don't know for sure whether Henry went down again or not, but they found, I think, a dead animal.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Lynn.